Hi, I'm Val the Realtor. Welcome back to my channel. This week, we're going to be talking about saying goodbye to a home. Lots of people have been in a home for a long period of time or even a short time, multi-generational, and how do we say goodbye to that home and end that chapter before we begin the next? Stay tuned. Often it's time to say goodbye to a home, and for many families, that's a difficult time. They have great memories, they've maybe put some sweat equity into the house, they've lived there for a long time, and even if they've only lived there a short time, a home becomes an attachment, a member of our family, something important to us. So sometimes it's important to follow through and say goodbye to our home and have some way to mark the occasion. So today we're talking about some of the big ways that you can say goodbye to your home. The first thing you can do, of course, is take something from the home with you. So one of the big popular items, and I've even seen it contractually in the purchase agreement, is that the homeowner plans to take maybe one of the shrubs, one of the perennials, something that they planted, maybe a cutting of a tree so that they can replant it in their next place. I know personally, our family, we had a beautiful Rose of Sharon tree. Everybody used to comment when the tree was in bloom and ask us what it was. We didn't even know what it was. We inherited it with the house. The house even went through Hurricane Juan, and this Rose of Sharon tree was hurt in the storm, and the whole trunk was split into two. And my husband went out and actually bandaged up the tree trunk to put it together so it would self-heal. We lived there again for, I think it was another 8 months, and the tree did end up, no, actually it was closer to a year. Anyway, the tree ended up healing itself. So when we found out that we were being relocated to Calgary, we decided to take a cutting with us, and we told the buyers that we were going to be taking a cutting, but we were going to leave the tree intact. We traveled all the way across Canada with that cutting in the back of our car, watering it and everything, only to arrive in Alberta and find out Rose of Sharons don't actually grow here. So unfortunately, we lost that memento. So as part of taking things from the house, sometimes people want to keep a little something. And one of the more common things is the key. Maybe it's the original key that they got from the builder. Maybe it's a key that they had copied and made into one of those novelty specialty keys, but they sometimes want to just keep a key to remember their time in the house. They're never going to go back in your house. They're not going to open your door, but it is not uncommon for a seller to just keep one memento key. So that's something you might want to do.
Also change your locks when you move in.
Which we always recommend anyway. I had another client, we noticed, we were the purchasers, and we noticed when we were buying the home that they had a 2x4 down in the basement in an unfinished part of the basement where the previous owners or current owners had been marking the height of their kids through the years. And there was 4 markings. So we could tell there was 4 kids that had been growing up in that house. And we were competing for that property. So in our offer, we put a condition in there that the owners had the right to remove that 2x4 to take out as a memento for when they went to their next property, or if one of their kids wanted it, that we would be willing to replace that 2x4 in the basement before they finished the basement. Needless to say, the sellers were delighted that not only had they noticed, but they had offered it back because they hadn't figured out what they were going to do with that, and they did want to keep that memento from their house. So we had a win-win situation. So sometimes taking something from the house is the best way to preserve and have that memory. Sometimes you can leave something in the house too as a way to say goodbye. It's a way to pay homage to this property that has provided, not only the roof over your head, but your family gatherings, your lifetime of memories. So sometimes people want to leave something at the house. Sometimes they maybe will leave a tree for you to plant. Or I know some people have left newspaper clippings where their house may have been featured in the newspaper and they got them nicely framed and they left them on the counter for the buyers. That was actually a very nice touch. Sometimes you want to leave something hidden in the attic, or maybe you forgot and left something in the attic. Something to leave a little bit behind. I've had properties where we found a little trail of coins where they've just left a little bit of coins so that the next person will have the same good fortune of happiness in that property as they had. And sometimes people just leave a bottle of wine or a bouquet of flowers from the garden to welcome the buyers. But you can leave something a little bit more permanent. You can leave something a little bit more personal. You can leave something fun or funny. I know when we moved from Victoria to Winnipeg, we actually left some photos in the attic of our time in the early 90s. There was some funny Halloween costumes and funny hairdos, but we thought one day it'll be funny. Somebody's going to find in the attic a remnant of photos that we live there, we touch that property. So think about leaving something behind that maybe says this is who we are and this was some memories that we shared in this house too. The third thing you can do is have a ceremony. And I've been part of these, and they can be a little bit more of a serious way to say goodbye to the house, and sometimes sad. So I've had everything from people sitting in a small circle and saying a little prayer to the house and thanking the house for all that it has given their family. I've had one client who was left the house after his mom passed away prematurely of cancer, and it was a very hard thing for him to say goodbye. And he wanted to be alone in the house, and he said just for a couple of minutes. So I stood outside and I waited, and time was going and time was going, and he ended up having about 10 minutes in there by himself, just sitting on the floor and taking a moment to reflect on everything that his mom had meant to him, everything his mom had accomplished, and everything that they had shared in the house together. I had other clients that had a lovely 2-story home, and it had been owned by 3 generations. So the first generation had bought it and raised some family in it, sold it to the son. The son had lived in it for a while and had a roommate, and then he was getting married and the wife wanted to buy a different home, so they rented it out for a bit but then sold it to or then they had the sister as a tenant for a while because she was going through, I think, a divorce and wanted to live there for a while. And then the mom bought it back and rented it out for a number of years. Her grandchildren had lived there at one point when they were going to the U of C, and now it was time they were selling it. Grandma now was quite a bit older, and the grandchildren were adults and on their own, and so it came time to sell this house, a house that so many family members had lived in over the years. So they decided that they wanted to have a farewell ceremony. So they invited me, as well as everybody that had lived in the house, to come and just share some memories and talk about what the house meant to them and reminisce about how the house was when they bought it and how the house was now that they were selling it. So it was a really nice way for everybody to participate and say goodbye to the house. Lastly, and probably most importantly, you want to capture the memories. So capture the memories before you leave the house can involve doing a whole montage of all the video and photographs you've had in the past, and maybe put together a PowerPoint presentation that you can keep on your computer if you ever want to flip back, reminisce, share it with mom and dad. Another option is to video, just like we're doing right now, and go around to each family member and have them video record some of their favorite memories or stories or recollections of stuff that has happened at the house. It can be from Christmases past or a surprise birthday party. It could be about the time the garage door wouldn't open and you didn't get to that job interview because you couldn't get your car out of the garage. That has happened. So if you record all these funny life moments that have happened at the house so that you can look back and share later. Now, if you are like me and not as camera friendly and haven't been as, you're enjoying the moment and you forgot to do it in the moment, you can actually arrange to have some sort of party, a goodbye party where you're going to do it all in a day and make a concerted effort to preserve all the memories and time that you've spent in the house. You can do it inside, you can do it outside if it's the right time of the year, and then you can video different parts of the house so you'll remember how it was. And it'll be interesting to drive by in another 10 or 20 years and see what the house looks like then. Saying goodbye is never easy, and it's always tough when you're leaving a home. Usually you've already made that decision by the time you've listed the home, but at the same time it's good to mark that occasion. And just remember, even though you're saying goodbye to your current home, you're actually saying hello to a brand new adventure, a brand new beginning and somewhere new. Whether it's somewhere else in the city, somewhere else in the province, or somewhere else in the world, there's a new adventure waiting for you in your next property. Thanks for watching this week's video on saying goodbye to your home. I hope that you've come up with some great ideas for how you're going to say goodbye to your home and begin your next adventure. Please make sure you like this video, comment, and subscribe, and share your ideas on how you're going to say goodbye to your home. Look forward to seeing you again next week.